Yo, what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman?
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal, but as always, Mrs. Weedman and I will be covering the latest cannabis research, science, health, political news, international news, and end it with some culture. So stick around. Now, Mrs. Weedman, you ready to get normal?
Yes.
All right. We're getting normal today with some crunch berries grown by Lifted Microbrewery. Crunch berries is an indica dominant hybrid, 70-30 indica sativa, strain created through crossing the triple OGX and blueberry strain. This bud is famous for its flavor that is said to be exactly like crunch berry cereal. It has hints of sweet berries and candy, with a touch of vanilla and candy-like aftertaste that sticks to your tongue for hours after you toke. The aroma is slightly spicy, although still very fruity and berry in nature, with touches of earth and pine. Crunch berries, as addictive as this flavor, with uplifted effects that aren't overwhelming, but can rather leave you feeling lazy. This high is great for feeding your creative inspiration, as well as easing away and erasing pain and thoughts with these effects and moderately high 15 to 16% average THC level. Crunch berries is often chosen by patients who suffer from conditions such as chronic pain, anxiety, stress, insomnia, and appetite loss. The effects: creative, happy, and relaxing, may relieve some anxiety, chronic pain, insomnia, and stress. Flavors are berry, candy, herbal, pine, and sweet. The aromas are berry, herbal, pine, spicy, and sweet. And this strain was part of the Midwest Terp Off, and I think the strain won the salt category. It was in the top 5 by Lifted. So I got some information versus the Michigan versus Illinois. First place of the salt category was Lifted Microbrewery, Dante's Inferno. Second place,
That's the same grower.
Same grower, yeah. Second place was Freight Train Canna by Poisonberry, Michigan. Third place was Freight Train Canna, Black Cherry Runts, Michigan. Fourth place was Lifted Microbrewery, Tropical Treats. And then fifth place was Lifted Microbrewery, Crunch Berries, which we're smoking tonight. They also took sixth place, Lifted Microbrewery, for Fruity Pebbles. Seventh was the Art of Genetics, Tamales. Eighth was Art of Genetics, Broken Lollipop. Ninth was Lifted Microbrewery, Red Hits, Michigan. And then 10th was Tycon by BKK OG, Michigan. And I want to thank Midwest Terps for hooking us up with all these different samples, and thank the Lifted Microbrewery for throwing to the cause tonight, Mrs. Weedman, with
That's right.
this crunch berries. And it smells fantastic when you were rolling it and grinding it. Oh my gosh, it did smell a little berryish.
Purple.
Yes, and had some
Purple.
funk going
Funky
on.
smell.
Funk
Earth
going on.
is an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
Very tasty.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how this strain hits us during the show tonight. But while I'm smoking, Mrs. Weedman's going to tell you a little bit about 8decades.com.
Yes. If you're a repeat listener, you know that our agenda is to stomp the stigma and free the plant. And that started through the Weedman 420 Chronicles podcast and continued on through our lifestyle brand, Cannabis lifestyle brand, 8 Decades. That's 8 Decades, spelled out EIGHT, decades.com. Head on over and you'll find all of our wonderful cannabis lifestyle goods. We've got rolling trays, storage jars, steam rollers, grinders, hemp clothing, tote bags, merino wool and hemp scarves and hats. I know we're coming into the spring, so you might not be looking for those things, but there's something for everybody. So check it out. And while you're there, click on the tabs, learn a little more about us, and find links to the podcast and sign up for our newsletter. If you do that, you'll get free shipping on your first order. So
There you go.
head on over to 8decades.com.
Yeah, 8decades.com, everybody. Check it out, because as I always say, if you support 8decades.com, we could pay our producer Shoddy. So thanks for the support, everybody. Also, please hit that subscribe button if you're listening to us on YouTube. That helps. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and you can also donate to the cause too by clicking on to donate to the cause. We appreciate you. All right. So I was watching a fun video. I was stoned watching a fun video of some cats falling. Did you I did you realize that out of the probably all the videos I've ever watched of cats, they always land on their feet?
Yes.
So weird. So I wanted to know why. I was stoned. So cats landing on their feet, it's like they're built differently. Like, how the fuck do they do this, you know? But science is kind of figuring it out a little bit, and they just found something new, and they called it the falling cat problem. And it's been around for over 100 years since they've been trying to figure out why. So, they can basically fucking fall with the 0 spin and somehow rotate midair and kinda land, like,
Yeah,
perfectly,
yeah.
which shouldn't even be possible. But it is possible.
Mhm.
It is. There's a twist, though, that the scientists found that cats just don't flip all at once. They actually rotate their body in, like, 2 steps, like a contortionist kinda thing, you know, kinda like, "Meh," fall, psh, land on your feet. But funny because the front half of the body twist first. I was watching a slow motion video, so the front half of the body twists first, and then the back half follows just milliseconds later, like a
Mhm.
70
I
to
could see
90
that.
millisecond, like instantly fucking like that
Crazy.
fast, like quick, quicker than quick. So instead of a one smooth flip, like their front half goes, and then the back's like, I got this, and follows up and says less, and then it locks and nails that landing every time,
Always.
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 And there's a reason for that because the front half of the bodies of the cat's body is lighter,
Mm.
which is weird. I
Yeah.
mean, you've picked up a ton of the cats. You do realize, like, their front like,
Yeah, yeah,
you picked up, Polly and Shawty's cats, right?
yeah.
Rue and Poe.
When you pick up cats, it's like their body goes limp.
They're like
They're like mush. So when you yeah, like, you pick them up under their
Do you ever
shoulders, like,
notice,
in their
like
armpits, then their whole bottom end is just, like,
yes,
hanging.
it's
Yes.
heavy.
Yeah.
The bottom
They're
half is
bottom heavy.
heavy, you know? So their back half is heavier and more stable, so it naturally rotates in a sequence.
That's cool.
Yeah, right?
Mhm.
So get this, do you think the tail, like, has anything to do with it?
Sure. No?
That is what you
Nothing?
think. No, it just helps with a little balance.
Hmm.
But the real magic, Mrs. Weedman, is in that spinal cord. The
Mm.
spine, the cat's spine is where all the magic happens. So they aren't breaking physics by doing this. They're just using it better than our spines can. Because we try to move like a cat, and we'll be walking
No, we
funny for
can't.
like a month.
I'd have a broken back. Mhm.
Like imagine falling off something and solving a physics problem in midair before you hit the ground.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't happen. Although our bodies, our mind, we are pretty intuitive when we're falling. We do a lot to prevent injury, but we're not.
Falling from, like 2 stories or 3
Yeah, I
stories
know.
like I've
We're not
seen
like
cats
cats. We're
do?
not like cats.
Hell no. It
We're
couldn't
not.
be me. Couldn't be me doing that. Not at all. Meanwhile, though, you got the cats out there,
Gotta learn
precision.
some parkour, and then you could be cat-like.
Cat parkour,
Parkour.
parkour. But it's like in a tenth of a seconds, and they land clean.
It's wild.
And, like, they walk away like, "Meh, meh,
Meh.
that's nothing." You see me fall from 10 stories, I still land on my feet. Or they got 9 lives, one or the
Yeah.
other. Would you rather be able to okay, so here's a fun question. Would you rather would you rather be able to land on your feet like a cat or have 9 lives?
Hmm. I think 9 lives.
9 lives?
Yeah.
So
I'd be more daring.
what would you do on that 8th live and you know you got 1
Then
left,
I'd start to be careful.
and then you're dead. You're
Well,
done.
no, I'll be careful. After the 8th death, when I come back, there won't be that my 9th life will be it. I will be very careful
Very
then.
careful.
I'll do all my risking in lives 1 through 8.
I don't know. So would you just test death? Just the f on the f one
Probably once.
no, you got, like,
Once.
okay,
For, like,
so
something so stupid.
alright,
You
so
know you're gonna die.
so knowing you have
But
9
it's like, "Ah, I
lives,
got a couple more.
you got
I'm
1
good."
to say you wanna play with 1, like,
Mhm.
you wanna do something fucking what would you do? Think of something what would you do just to say, "I'm gonna just use 1?"
Hmm.
1 life,
1
something
life.
like
What would you do?
what would be like that death experience? Like something that's not safe. Like jumping out of an airplane is pretty safe,
Yeah.
right? With a parachute on.
I
But
don't
would you
know.
jump out of an airplane without a
Well,
parachute?
fuck no. Why would you do
Why?
that?
Because
Why
you
would
wake up, you're good the next
but
day.
why would you even
I
do
don't
that?
know. Just for the adrenaline rush, going, I'm gonna land
Here,
this
I saw an
bitch.
article the other day about the mountain climbing goats,
I saw
and they
that.
scale. They're like 200 stories in the
Yeah.
air on
Little
like
little
on
half-inch.
shards of rock that
Yep.
are like 2 inches deep. How they get there and get down and survive? I'm sure a lot of them die every year,
Maybe one.
but maybe I'd want to be on one of their backs. I
Oh,
don't
and
know.
ride up. Would that's how you would end that
I don't
one
know.
life?
I don't know. You're asking me. This is a high pressure question. I
It's
don't.
not a high pressure. You got 8 more to you gave me 8 more to give.
What would I do? I don't know. I
What
don't know, Mr. Weedman.
I don't,
I can't even pick my favorite color.
I wouldn't wanna do something awful, like something like drowning,
Oh God. Well,
like
why would you wouldn't pick something like
going
that?
the deepest dive you could possibly dive and not worrying about, like in a submersible going to the deepest depths of the
I think I
ocean.
would hang glide because I wouldn't do hang glide any other
So
for
if you
like
died, would you crash just on purpose? Like, fuck it,
no. Well, I'm
no?
not going to cause myself.
I said something not safe. Hang gliding's safe. Saying
No,
something
it's
that's
not
safe.
safe.
Would you get in a ring with like Mike Tyson at his prime and let him beat the shit out of you?
No, no.
Why
That's
not?
not even because you're basically saying that because you have extra lives, you would just be completely like
Just give one away.
just do something super
Something.
stupid.
Would you just crash a car going 200 miles per hour and see what happens?
Ugh.
Knowing the next day you're gonna be perfectly fine. Your body's not gonna be fucked up. You're gonna come back
No,
perfectly the same.
no,
No,
none of these sound no.
none of the
If I was
above.
gonna like optionally die, I would do something really great, like really fun.
Like what?
I don't know.
Surf big waves, like 26-foot waves, 30-foot waves.
I do keep my brain keeps going to the to the middle of the ocean because I would never go in the middle of the ocean
And just
for any other
go
reason, like
deep.
swim.
Swim in the middle, and a shark came
Like
and
just
ate
drop
you,
me out
and a
there.
shark came and just swallowed you
Maybe
whole.
that's it. Put me on a little raft in the middle of the ocean because that would fucking freak the shit out of me. But if I like didn't have to worry about dying, I'd be like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
And you come back right where you left. Like you don't end up being
Well, not
like,
to that same raft in the
no,
middle of
you
the
just
ocean.
come back. Like you come back, you just
Back on
poof,
land.
You're back where
Boom.
you started.
Yeah.
You would
Okay,
do
that's it.
That
Middle of
would be
the
the
ocean
middle
on
of
a
the ocean.
raft.
I think
That'd be terrible.
I think I would take a car
Mm-hmm.
and drive like
So
fast
fast.
as you can. And if you crash and you died, who
So
cares?
what?
So what? I'd go as fast or
Hmm.
fly in a supersonic speed
Something
jet.
super thrilling.
Yes, something crazy. Like I've never raced a car before. I never was I would drag
Drive a
race
Formula One.
something and just be reckless. Like who cares? Because if you die,
Well, then you're dying.
yeah, but you can't do. But the crazy thing is, you got to make sure it's not your 8th death. You don't wait
Oh
to
my
the 8th
God.
one. It's the
No,
9th
but
one.
I have thought about this now. Like maybe you wouldn't want to like just give away a death early because you don't really know. Like right now, I don't even know what I would give that away to.
Right.
So I'd probably want to be like around probably around 6 that you'd give away 6.
Give away
Like
the
number
6th one.
6, the 6th one
Not
you
the
give
luck,
away.
and then you have lucky 7.
And then you
coming
got
back on it.
7 and 8.
Okay, so if something happens,
You got some backups.
I would. You know what I would do? I would tell you to put like I would do. Oh, I know what I would do. I want
What?
the kiss of death.
Oh,
So I would do this with you. We'd do like some kind of mystery game. Like I was a private detective and you were some kind of like a just you robbed a safe
is
somewhere.
this
or
telling
you're a
me that
bank
you
rob-
want to do role play?
No, not at all. Just this time, just this once, just this once. You were like a bank rob, like you
Okay.
robbed jewelry.
Okay.
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 And
I
I'm
like
the
that.
private detective, and I
Uh,
now have to come and find you. And I find you, and I didn't realize it was a woman, and I fell in love with you.
oh, Jesus. Of course, Mr. Romance.
So,
Okay.
but meanwhile,
now-
I have to arrest you though.
Okay.
So then, what you do is you have someone make you some poison lipstick, right? And you know I'm in love with you, but you're not in love with me, but you're gonna play me like
I
you are
kill
falling
you.
in love with me. And I go to arrest you. I go to like arrest you. And
I think
I'm
you've
going to
thought
put-
about this
No,
before.
I'm thinking about it right now. It's this
Okay.
strain. Remember, I said
Okay.
it's creative.
Yeah.
So, and I would go to put the handcuffs on you, like can I hug and give you one last kiss?
I need one kiss.
And you would kiss me, and it's poison. And I die and fall, and you
But
escape.
then you're
with the-
murdered. You didn't even
escape-
know.
You escape with the jewelry.
Whoa.
But I wake up the next day
Yeah.
because I have 9 lives. So this is just a fun thing I'm thinking about, like how you know what I'm
So
saying?
weird. Okay.
And
Was
you,
this in your anime?
No,
One of your shows?
not at
Is
all.
this a storyline that you've seen
Just
before?
popped in my head. Thank you,
Wow,
crunch
Mr.
berries.
Weedman,
Pretty
that's
good.
really, really creative of you. Good job,
Kinda good, right?
you know,
That'd be a fun way to die once, being but a kiss of death.
for a romantic.
I am a hopeless romantic.
Yep.
I am very hopeless romantic.
How about if I would eat myself to death in candy?
You
Not
thought
eat myself. Eat
when you first
eat so
said that,
yeah,
when
I
you
said
first
that
I was
all
like,
wrong.
"Oh, what's wrong with
Eat
you?"
eat to death. How would you say that? How do
You
you
would
say
eat
that?
candy till you died,
Until I
until
died.
it just
I'd
came
eat
out of
so
you in
much
all
candy.
orifices of your body.
Oh,
Shoot
no.
out.
I mean, how much candy do you like, nonstop, like, all I would eat,
What'd be the
like, day
first
in
and
and day
last
out?
candy that you would die for?
There's none that are really great anymore.
Skittles, because you always choke on them when you
Yeah,
eat them. All right, you ready to get this show started
yeah, let's do it.
before we get crazy in
Mhm,
this mo? I like to say thank you though for the crunch berries because it's very good. I'm very high
mhm.
already, and I still got a long way to go. So anyway, THC pens, vapes, vape carts, whatever you want to, whatever they're called, is now bigger sales in California than flower is for the first time.
Hmm,
So
wow.
when I read that, and we talked about that a couple episodes ago, I figured, there's a lot of new people coming into cannabis, a lot of older generation coming into cannabis, and probably just think the old school way is just to smoke a joint. Edibles is a big thing, but also how does THC vape pens work? Like, kind of like what's the innards and the outards? Like, what does all the contraptions mean, and what does it do? So let's get into something a lot of people use, but not everybody actually understands. We're talking THC vape pens. And this article from Southern Maryland Chronicles really breaks it down in a simple, no bullshit way. Because let's be real, a lot of folks just hit the pen and keep on moving, not really thinking about what's going on inside that little device. So, first off, what is a THC vape pen? At its core, it's just a small electronic device that heats up cannabis oil and turns it into vapor instead of smoke. So, instead of combustion, like lighting up flour, you're using heat without burning to create something you can inhale. And that's right there is why people say vaping feels smoother because you're not dealing with all that smoke and ash. Now, this article breaks down the pen into three main parts: the battery, the cartridge or tank filled with THC oil, and the atomizer, which is basically the heating element. Simple setup, but a lot of happening behind the scenes. So, see how it works. When you take a hit, you either press a button, or on a lot of these newer pens, you just inhale, and that activates the battery. The battery sends power to the atomizer. The atomizer heats up the oil, and boom, you got vapor. No flame, no lighter, just straight heat doing its thing. And the oil inside, that's usually cannabis extract, could be distillate, live resin, different terp profiles, live rosin, and all the good stuff depending on what you're smoking. Now, one thing the article points out, and this is important, is that vape pens come in different styles. You've got it. Disposable pens, use it and toss it. Rechargeable batteries with cartridges, more customizable. And even more advanced setups with adjustable temps and airflow. So, depending on how deep you're into it, you can keep it super simple or go full tech mode. And that's kind of where the culture has gone. People like vape pens because they're discreet, portable, and easy to use. You don't need to roll anything, no grinder, no smell sticking to everything that like that loud pack. You just keep it hit and keep on moving. But, and this is where it keeps it on the show. This article also touches on the fact that not all vape products are created equal. Quality matters because unregulated or sketchy products can be an issue, especially with how popular these things have gotten. That's why you always hear people say, know your source, know what you're smoking. And we've seen that play out too. Law enforcement and regulators cracking down on licensed THC products, especially ones being sold outside of dispensaries. So, yeah, convenience is high, but you still got to move smart. And one more thing I think is interesting: vaping in general has evolved fast. Phew. fast. Like, okay,
Very fast.
yeah, what started out as bulky devices is now these sleek little pens that look like USB drives or regular everyday items. Low key, discreet, almost too easy sometimes. Too easy. So yeah, next time you hit a vape pen, just know you're not just puffing. You're running a tiny electronic system that's heating cannabis oil into vapor in real time. Hope that helps.
It
Just a
does.
little quick little knowledge on vapes. I uh I prefer if I do and we don't smoke many vapes anymore. Um I prefer looking for ceramic coils or porcelain coils for sure. If I was buying a vape, I would definitely try to find those instead of the nickel coil atomizers and all that fun stuff, just for your lung protection. Just me. So, and now Mrs. Weedman's going to reveal how many of you Americans out there use CBD and why.
Yep.
Tell us about it, Miss Weedman.
All right, let's talk about CBD for a second because it's everywhere right now, right? Oils, gummies, drinks, you name it. But how many Americans are actually using this stuff? According to a new survey covered by Green State, about 35% of U.S. adults say they've tried CBD at least once. That's more than 1 in 3 people. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Of the people who have used CBD, over 70% say they're using it for therapeutic reasons, not just to chill out. We're talking anxiety, pain relief. Those are the big drivers. So even though CBD gets lumped into cannabis culture, a lot of folks are really treating it more like a wellness product or as self medication. The study itself was pretty solid. It surveyed over 1,500 adults using a nationally representative panel. So it wasn't just a random internet poll. But, and there's always a but, it only captured a snapshot in time. It doesn't tell us how often people are using CBD, just that they've tried it. Now, let's zoom out a bit, because CBD isn't the only cannabinoid getting attention. The same survey found that about 8% of Americans have tried Delta 8 THC, while smaller numbers reported trying compounds like CBN, CBG, and HHC, those newer cannabinoids that are popping up in products. So CBD is still king, but the cannabinoid menu is definitely expanding. What's wild, though, is how much these numbers can vary depending on the survey. Another poll from 2024 suggested that up to 60% of Americans have tried CBD, while older data lines up closer to that 1 in 3 range. So, depending on who you ask, CBD is either pretty common or basically mainstream. And if you look at current use, not just people who have tried it, some research suggests about 10% of Americans are actively using CBD right now. So there's a difference between trying it once and actually keeping it in rotation. Bottom line, CBD has officially crossed over. It's not niche anymore, it's part of everyday life for a large chunk of the country. But at the same time, science is still catching up. People are using it for real health reasons, even though we don't fully understand all of the short and long term effects yet. CBD might chill you out, but the conversation around it, that is still evolving.
I like me some CBD.
Yeah.
We talk about it a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
It's part of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Not all
Very
about
useful.
THC, everybody. We love our THC too,
Yeah.
but there's so
Well,
many other cannabinoids out there.
yeah. And like you just came off of an article about vaping,
Mhm,
and we've talked about it quite a lot recently
mhm.
about what you're missing out when you're vaping.
Yep.
So it's wildly popular because of its convenience, because of it doesn't hinder you from being able to consume pretty much anywhere and at any time. It's very convenient. Doesn't smell. Everybody thinks it's clean. Everybody thinks it's not bad for you. It's not the same as smoking, but yeah, just watch.
It's here to stay.
It's here to stay, but you're missing out on a lot.
The full spectrum of that flower
Yeah,
and everything you get in it,
yeah.
especially if there's other cannabinoids in there,
Yeah,
they
and
do it right.
CBD especially, like,
Mm.
just having that kind of full spectrum or at
Ooh,
least some sort of ratio
yeah.
really makes the experience So much better,
Yeah, a good 1-to-1 is so good. But
especially if you're using it therapeutically. I personally, I think a vape is probably the worst way to use cannabis medically. Um, I think CBD, and like because you just talked about vapes, I'm talking about CBD. If
yeah.
you a ratio CBD to THC
Mm.
or a higher dose CBD during the day and a higher dose THC at night, but definitely a ratio of the two.
Then if you get some
Um,
other cannabinoids in there too, boy,
yeah, very
you're living
beneficial
life to the fullest.
and just so different, so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, now this one right here, Mrs. Weedman,
Yep.
this one of those conversation that's been going on forever. People always ask, "Does legal weed increase crime or reduce it?" Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Well, according to this article from Marijuana Moment and a study from Jack Welch College of Business Technology, Bernard College, National Chenchi University, and Longwood University, we're starting to get a much clearer answer. And it might surprise you. So here's the headlines takeaway. Legalizing marijuana, whether medical or recreational, is actually linked to reduction in certain types of crime. Yep, not more crime, less, depending on how it's legalized. Now, here's where it gets interesting because the study breaks it down differently depending on the type of legalization. First, medical marijuana laws. Those were associated with reduction in property crime. So we're talking things like burglary, theft, property related offenses, and thinking here is pretty logical. When cannabis becomes legally accessible for medical use, it reduces the need for underground markets, less illegal dealing, less black market activity tied to those kinds of crimes. Now, flip it over to recreational legalization. That's where the study found reductions in violent crime. We're talking assault, robbery, other violent offenses. And again, it makes sense when you think about it. When a product moves from the streets into regulated stores, you're taking money and power away from illegal networks that are often tied to violence. Legalization doesn't just change access, it reshapes the entire ecosystem. Now, one thing the research pointed out, and this is important for bigger conversation, these effects don't happen overnight. They actually found that crime reduction shows up more strongly after several years, not immediately after legalization hits. So this isn't like flipping a switch and crime drops the next day. It's more like a slow shift over time as legal systems replace illegal ones. And think that's something people miss in the debate. Everybody wants instant results, but policy changes like this take time to play out. Now, zooming out for a second. Zoom out, everybody. Zoom. Get on that high and zoom out. This study adds to the growing body of research showing that legalization doesn't increase crime the way some critics have claimed for years. In fact, a lot of data is pointing out in the opposite direction, or at the very least, showing no major increase in crime at all in legal states. So, what we're seeing is more nuance. Medical legalization, less property crime. Recreational legalization, less violent crime. And overall, no clear evidence of crime spikes. That's a big shift from the old school narrative. Now let's keep it real for a second. This doesn't mean legalization solves everything. There's still issues like black market competition, regulation gaps, enforcement differences between states. But what this study is saying is when you look at the data over time, legal cannabis isn't driving up crime. If anything, it's helping bring certain types of crime down. So, yep, next time someone hits you with legal weed makes things worse and legal things make things worse. Yeah, you see all the articles they're coming out with in the news. Here's your argument. You want to hit him back with some data because while the debate is still going, the numbers are starting to lean to the left a certain way. That's good news. Yay, weed.
Yay,
Changing the
weed.
world one joint at a time. So, this wee man's going to tell you a little bit about Americans lighting up about marijuana while they judge everything else now.
Yeah, right? Times are changing.
Oh, the
This one's kinda funny
times they are changing.
because it really shows where America's head is at right now when it comes to weed. The article from the Fresh Toast, breaks maybe I'm hungry.
You want some French toast, Mrs. Weedman?
Breaks down a new survey from Pew Research. And basically, Americans are way more chill about marijuana while still judging everything else pretty hard. Check this out. Only about 23% of Americans say marijuana is morally wrong. That's actually pretty low, especially when you stack it up against other behaviors, like gambling. That comes in higher. Around 29% of people think that's morally unacceptable. So somehow placing bets is more questionable than lighting up. Let that sink in for a minute. And then there's alcohol, something that's been socially accepted forever. It still lands in the weird middle ground where people are kind of split on it globally. But here's where it flips: pornography. A whole different story, of course. You've got 58% of women and 47% of men saying it's morally wrong. And it doesn't stop there. When it comes to cheating, like extramarital affairs, about 9 of 10 Americans say it's morally wrong. So clearly, people are picking and choosing what they care about, and weed just isn't high on the bad behavior list anymore. One of the biggest reasons for this shift is medical cannabis. The article points out that a lot of people don't even look at weed as rebellious anymore. It's more about relief. Folks are using it for chronic pain, anxiety, epilepsy, even cancer related symptoms. So when something moves from party drug to medicine, the judgment tends to drop pretty quickly. And you can see that reflected globally. The US is actually among the more relaxed countries when it comes to cannabis attitudes, but not everybody's on the same page. The survey shows that older adults and more religious individuals are still more likely to view marijuana as morally wrong, while younger and more educated people are way more accepting. So there's definitely a generational divide that's happening. And here's probably the funniest takeaway: America hasn't stopped judging, it's just redirected it. The article basically says people might shrug at cannabis, gambling, even divorce, which, by the way, most people now see as morally acceptable or not even a moral issue. But step outside those lines in the wrong way, and judgment comes right back into play. So, we've reached this weird place where weed is normalized, but morality in general, it's still as complicated as ever. The bottom line is this: cannabis isn't leading the parade yet, but it's definitely not hiding in the shadows. And honestly, that's a huge shift from where things used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. Yay, weed again.
Yay, weed.
Political, state, and business news. Illinois cannabis companies got smoked financially in 2025, with many posting major losses despite strong sales. I will explain in a minute. One standout stayed profitable, but overall, falling prices and tight margins are squeezing the whole market. Selling more but making less. Yes, the math ain't mathin'. It hurts. Mm-hmm. For all you vendors out there, you're just leasing space right now, and rent keeps on going up. It ain't going down. I'm telling you right now, Illinois had a really good strong start in 2020 to about 2022. Oh boy, you all fell apart,
Not so
and we're all
much.
getting burned on the taxes because the tax man is making more money than any of us. And if they lower taxes to about just a straight flat tax at 10%, everybody can make some money again. Because all we're doing is giving away your margins to beat the next person's margins, or sales, I should say, to beat that next person's sales, to drive traffic to your store. So you're not making you're hoping to make money on volume by selling more units, but it ain't working. That is a recipe for failure.
Mhm.
It's not sustainable. You need to reverse and get back to flat. Stop giving away your house, vendors, suppliers, dispensaries. Okay, do a proper regular price every day. People will still come and buy to get your weed. Don't charge too much. Don't charge too little. Charge a perfect amount. make your money. They will come. You build a good, solid business. But instead, as more and more you give away, the less and less everybody makes. And you will not be in business. And then it'll just be a mass corporate market because they're the only ones that have the money. And all you mom and pops who I love and respect more than anything out there, you won't be around in 5 years. We'll be talking about that great dispensary down the street that didn't make it. And what happened?
Mm-hmm. Gone.
Gone. Either got bought out or closed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to see that happening. Fair pricing. If everybody stuck strong and gave fair pricing, everybody can make a good living. I've said this thousands of times. Everybody can make a good living at this industry. We all took care of one another. And if we all watched each other's back and we all communicated and we all helped each other out, it's not about fighting and who's got this and who's got that. It's just about cannabis, about the plant. And we forgot about that. I'm going to tell you this. I believe this year, 420, we should all have the day off. I said that last year. There's sales every day in this industry. Every day. You can go to any store, anywhere in Illinois, across the country, but I'm just talking about Illinois right now. And there's something on sale. Not one thing, some things on sale. On every website you go on, every store in this state, there's hundreds of items on sale. What's going to make 420 different is that we all fucking party and have a day off. You're all starting your sales. I know stores that are starting their sales starting like the 10th of March and running sales all the way to it's like the 12 days of Christmas, calling it the 13 days of cannabis. Are you serious?
That's crazy.
You're already doing sales every day. You're going to be running sales all week until that Monday. We should all have the fucking day off. What's one day you're going to make your money and give everybody off, then open up on the 21st and say after 420 sale, because we're going to do anyway. I love you all out there. Let's all just have the day off. Close 420. Throw some parties. Let's have some fun. You've taken the fun out of cannabis. All you out there, all you corpos and all you fucking people took the fun out of 420 for me. It used to be my day, my favorite day of the year. Still is. But y'all fucked it up. And I'm sorry to say I'm on my soapbox for once. And I'm telling you right now, take the fucking day off. It's my 420's birthday too. So I'm just telling you, just go back to the basics of business. You forgot what it was all about. I love y'all. Going on. Delaware's legal weed market is off to a slow start, pulling out $29 million in 7 months, way below expectations. Between delays and folks still crossing state lines, the rollout's lagging. Basically legal here, but it's not the booming just yet. Congressional researchers are confirming marijuana rescheduling is still stuck in the process, with hearings and rulemaking dragging on. Meanwhile, the hemp THC crackdown is still coming, likely banning most intoxicating products by 2026. So yeah, progress is on one side, crackdown on the other. All right, Minnesota update. State regulators are reminding hemp businesses that transitions period is ending soon. There's stricter cannabis rules rolling in. License compliance testing and all that's about to be tightened up. Basically, the grace period's over. If you're in the game, it's time to get legit or get left behind. Minnesota is not playing. They're building a fully regulated market step by step. Also in Minnesota, though, they only have 2 testing companies in that whole state right now.
That's crazy.
I saw somebody post something today. They have $500,000 in edibles just sitting there and not going to be going out for like 2 to 3 more weeks because of testing.
Wow.
500,000. Oh my God. And product just sitting in bins. And you're probably not going to go out for like a month. And then by the time you get it on trucks and get it to stores, you're looking at probably another 2, 3 more. Oh my God. I feel bad right now for people. Oof. U.S. hemp farmers are basically gambling right now ahead of the federal THC ban, planting crops without contracts, no clear buyers, and they're certainly on what's even legal. So yeah, imagine growing hundreds of acres and not knowing if you could sell it. That's not farming, that's high-stake guessing. Colorado said, nah. Lawmakers rejected a bill that would have let voters decide on raising marijuana and alcohol taxes for mental health funding. So lawmakers pushed back hard, saying that the industry is already struggling. So yeah, instead of higher taxes, they hit pause. Translation, even in legal states, cannabis tax is still a sensitive topic. All right, D.C. had a hit pause and adjust. Medical cannabis applications are flooding in, so regulators just extended temporary patient cards from 30 days to 90 days. They also dropped the photo requirement to speed things up and cut the hassle. Basically, too many people signing up, not enough time to process. So they said, keep patients covered. Hey, legal weed's growing pains are real. All right, this one's kind of wild. So after Trump accidentally called California Governor's Gavin Newsom the president, Newsom leaned all the way in on the joke that cannabis is now legal nationwide. So not real, but hey, for a second, people were like, wait, did we miss something? Here's an interesting one. Senator Rand Paul had been quietly pushing hard for cannabis reform, especially on the hemp side. He's been fighting against proposed THC bans, warning they could wipe out an industry and hurt farmers. So, yeah, not who most people expect, but when he's been on the louder voices saying, don't overregulate this thing. Politics make strange allies sometimes. Rhode Island regulators are saying, not so fast on THC drinks in bars and restaurants. They're backing a ban on serving hemp derived THC beverages anywhere alcohol is sold, saying the state's just not ready yet. Meanwhile, businesses are pushing back, saying controlled environments like bars are actually safer. So yeah, cannabis drinks still allowed, but not just at your with your dinners and cocktails. Here's one the feds probably didn't expect to admit. Turns out youth marijuana use is actually declining, even as legalization expands. Yep, the DA's own materials are basically saying numbers are going down, not up. So all that talk about legalization causing a spike in teen use, not really matching the data. Funny how the facts start changing once you actually track them over time. Now, Mrs. Weedman, I'm passing that joint over to you.
Yes. Ohio tried to push back but ran out of time. I'm sorry, I should have interjected by saying that I've got more political, state, and business news.
Yes, you do.
So, Ohio tried to push back but ran out of time. A campaign aiming to block new marijuana and hemp restrictions failed to collect enough signatures to make the ballot. They needed around 248,000 signatures. So, those restrictions still moving forward because sometimes it's not about the vote, it's about getting on the ballot in the first place. And in Ohio, they just flipped a switch. Intoxicating hemp products are now banned, including THC and CBD drinks, unless they're sold through licensed dispensaries. Yep, no more grabbing a THC drink at the gas station. Lawmakers say it's about safety and keeping unregulated products away from kids. But businesses, they're feeling it. Hemp got pushed out, and cannabis dispensaries just got more control. New York cannabis groups are speaking up, saying the legal market still needs serious fixing. They're calling for a safer, more equitable system with better transparency, stronger enforcement on illegal shops, and more support for licensed businesses trying to survive. Basically, legalization happened, but the rollout was messy. It's time to stabilize things because right now, legal operators are fighting to stay afloat. Here's a wild one. Afroman. Maybe you heard about this. This was all over the news this week. He just beat a lawsuit against Ohio deputies who raided his house, then got mad because he turned all of the video footage that he had from his home into a music video. It was called like Lemon Pound Cake. Crazy, right? And these cops sued him for nearly $4 million, but the jury said, nah, I think that's free speech. So basically, cops bust in, find nothing, and then get roasted in a song. And the court said, fair game.
Do you want to know why? Because I got
Huh?
high.
Because I got high. Because I got high.
Da, 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 da.
If you haven't watched any of the footage, it is hysterical. The footage while he's on trial, he goes up
Oh, he's looking great.
and he's on the stand and he's pitching his, you know, his defense of what he did and why these, it was freedom of speech. Oh my God, it was great.
Great.
Absolutely
And he looked
great.
good too. He was wearing all
red,
American
white,
flag
blue.
suit.
Yeah, he had his glasses
weed
on.
glasses on.
He had a weed ring on.
He
Yeah.
was
You got to
looking
go
good.
check out, like go on YouTube and find it because it's
It's pretty good.
iconic. Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm still going. Hold on. Okay. Here's where things get confusing at the federal level. There's a new CBD health insurance plan in the works, but get this, it could allow THC levels way higher than legal hemp. is limited to. So while they're cracking down on hemp products, this program might bend the rules. Basically, ban it on one side, allow it on the other. Gotta love federal cannabis policy. It's always going to keep you guessing.
Brutal.
My guess is maybe they're just kind of fixing in like the potential for increases
Yep.
so they don't have to keep going back to change the laws.
Right.
Virginia is having a big moment right now. The governor's about to decide on a stack of cannabis bills that could finally launch legal retail sales, fix past convictions, and strengthen consumer protections. We're talking about a full system, licensed shops, product testing, and regulation to replace the underground market. If this gets signed, Virginia will go from legal but nowhere to buy it to fully in the game. Here's an important report: medical cannabis patients are still being denied organ transplants just for using weed, even when the science doesn't back it up, with doctors citing old assumptions, not actual data. Meanwhile, research shows cannabis alone doesn't lead to worsening transplant outcomes. Basically, stigmas and outdated information are still deciding who gets a second chance at life. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this could be a game changer. There's a bipartisan bill in Congress that would finally let U.S. cannabis companies list on major stock exchanges like NASDAQ and NYSE. That means real Wall Street access. It would also protect banks, investors, and companies working with cannabis businesses from federal punishment. Missouri's got money piling up, but nobody's touching it. Nearly $95 million in cannabis tax revenue is just sitting there, even through though voters already decided it should fund veteran services, public defenders, and addiction treatment. So the money's coming in heavy, but it's not going out. Legal weed is doing its job while the government hasn't caught up. Over in Nebraska, medical cannabis rollout is basically on standby right now. The state commission is ready to move, but they're waiting on lawmakers to pass a budget and regulatory bill before anything gets going. Voters already approved it, but without funding and rules, it is stuck in limbo. A classic situation, legal on paper, but still waiting on the system to catch up. Also in Nebraska, lawmakers approved a bill to protect doctors who recommend medical cannabis so they won't face criminal charges, lawsuits, or lose their license for having that conversation. They still have to follow proper medical standards, no reckless recommendations. But this removes the fear factor, because what's the point of legal medical weed if doctors are too scared to recommend it? Mr. Weedman, back to you.
Thank you. Indiana might finally be feeling a little bit of the pressure. The governor is saying the state will have to address marijuana legalization, maybe because it's falling behind neighboring states where cannabis is already legal. Yeah, people are literally crossing state lines to buy it, Governor. So while Indiana's been holding out, the rest of the Midwest is moving on. And at some point, you can't ignore it anymore. This is a big shift. WNBA players might soon stop getting tested for marijuana altogether as part of the new union deal. Yep. Following the NBA's lead, the league is moving forward toward treating cannabis more like not that big of a deal. So instead of testing and penalties, it's more about player wellness now. Times are changing, pro sports finally catching up with the culture. Idaho might actually get a vote this time. The Medical Marijuana Initiative just hit the statewide signature requirements to qualify for the November ballot. Now they still got to meet district requirements across the state. So it's not official yet, but they're close. So yeah, Idaho, one of the strictest states, might finally let voters decide. South Carolina didn't go full ban. They hit the middle ground. Lawmakers approved the bill to keep the THC hemp products legal for adults 21 plus instead of wiping out the whole market. Oh, but don't get it twisted. It's regulated heavy, lower doses, tighter rules, and limits on what can be sold. Meh, meh. Alabama's cannabis rollout just took another hit, roll tide. An audit found the state's Medical Cannabis Commission had multiple violations of state law, including record-keeping issues, Open Meeting Act violations, and even overpaying legal contracts by over $200,000. Yep, regulators not following the rules they're supposed to enforce. So basically, the program's already delayed, and now it's dealing with internal chaos too. I love you, Alabama. Holy smokes. We've been talking about Alabama since 2022, 2023. Now
Yeah.
oh my gosh. We even went to Birmingham.
We did.
We did. to support. We smoked a weed
We
in the
smoked
park,
on the yeah,
and we smoked a weed on a walk with Yuki, and we
mhm,
smoked weed
by
in
the
the park,
courthouse
and
building.
I gave yeah, by the courthouse building, and I gave a homeless person half of a joint. The next
Mhm,
morning, I left it on the, uh,
the rail.
the rail, and I walked out. I had to take a hit by walking Yuki in the park back over by
Mhm.
the courthouse, and there was 2 homeless people, and I said, "You want this?" She's like,
Heck yeah.
"Yeah." I was like, "Birmingham all the way." New York's leveling up medical side. Lawmakers just approved a bill to allow out-of-state patients to access medical cannabis through reciprocity and also bring pre-rolled joints to the medical program. Yep, making it easier for visitors and way more convenient for patients. Medical program finally catching up to how people actually consume. Now, this is the big federal move. There's a Medicare pilot program that could cover up to $500 a year in hemp-derived CBD and THC products for patients. I know what Mrs. Weedman talked about earlier. This is a little more the info that came out that I found out today. So, yep, but don't get too hyped. It's limited, tightly regulated, and doesn't cover smoking products. Still, though, cannabis getting federal health coverage. That's a major shift. Grandma might be getting reimbursed for her gummies soon. Pennsylvania is still stuck in the almost but not quite phase. Lawmakers are debating cannabis legalization again, but the state is deeply divided, especially between the House and Senate. Meanwhile, neighboring states are cashing in, and PA is watching the revenue drive right past them. So, yeah, momentum's there. But until both sides agree, legalization is just spinning its wheels. And now, Mrs. Weeman and I are going to smoke again because I need to get high,
Mhm.
high, high before Mrs. Weeman goes into her article, which is about cannabis as a calling. There's some pioneers over on the West Coast medical market that offers some sage advice.
Yeah. All right, this next article from Green State taps into something we don't always talk about: the women who helped build the cannabis industry, especially in California. The piece centers around a Women's History Month event in Berkeley, where a group called NorCal Women in Cannabis brought together some people who were in this game way before legalization made it cool. We're talking pioneers like Debbie Goldsberry, who co founded the Cannabis Action Network, and Lynette Shaw, who literally faced federal prosecution for running one of the first licensed dispensaries under Prop 215. These aren't just industry folks, these are stand straight up risk takers who help shape what we know as legal cannabis today. And the vibe of the event, it wasn't corporate. It was community, people sharing stories, smoking, connecting, real grassroots energy, which honestly makes sense because California has been leading this movement since way back in 1996 when medical marijuana first became legal. One of the big themes from the panel was advice for the next generation, and it wasn't sugar coated. A lot of these women talked about the challenges, not just running a business, but doing it in a space that wasn't always welcoming, especially in the early days. We're talking legal risks, stigma, financial barriers, all of it. But what stood out most was resilience. One key takeaway that was that success in cannabis, or really any emerging industry, isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward despite the fear. And that hits different when it's coming from people who are literally putting everything on the line before there were safety nets, before there were licenses, and before there was mainstream acceptance. Another thing they emphasized: community matters. This industry didn't grow out of boardrooms, it grew from patients, activists, caregivers, people helping each other when the system wasn't built for them. A woman, and women have been a huge part of that foundation, even if they don't always get the spotlight. Now, the cannabis industry is massive, multi billion dollar levels, and women are still playing a major role, from executives to scientists to advocates. But the game has changed. It's more regulated, more competitive, and in some ways harder to break into than it used to be. So the message from these pioneers is pretty clear: know your history, stay grounded, and don't lose that sense of purpose that built this whole thing in the first place. Because at the end of the day, cannabis isn't just business, it's culture, it's medicine, and for a lot of people, it's personal. And hearing these stories is a reminder that the industry didn't just appear overnight, it was built by people willing to take risks, stand up, and push forward, even when the odds weren't in their favor. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Gay women. They will rule the world one day. I say
Mhm.
it a lot on this show. I've said it a lot on this show. International news. Over in Germany, things are kind of stalled. One Green Party lawmaker is calling out the government for dragging its feet on cannabis pilot programs, which are supposed to test legal sales. Yeah, legalization started, but the next phase, not happening yet. She's saying momentum slowed, politics are divided, and progress is just sitting there. So basically, legal framework in place, but rollout still stuck in neutral. Up in Canada, our friends to the north, the courts just checked the regulators. A federal judge overturned a cannabis security clearance denial that was based on, wait for it, a Facebook friendship. Yep, Health Canada tried to say that was a public safety risk. The court said, nah, this week's evidence and not enough to block someone's career. So basically, you can't deny someone's over social media connections alone. It's a big win for common sense. This is a trend you've probably felt already. Canadians are buying more cannabis and less alcohol, especially in January. Yep, the numbers show alcohol sales are slipping, while cannabis keeps climbing year over year. So people aren't just partying less, they're switching
Huh.
up just a little or a lot, depending on where you're at in your life. Basically, instead of pouring a drink, more folks are lighting up, taking bong rips. Times are changing. The bar tab's going down. Dispensary seats are going on up. Mexico's cannabis law, question mark, kind of cloudy. You can legally possess and use small amounts privately. Buying it, still not officially legal anywhere. Yep. No real dispensaries, no clear systems, just a gray area. It's allowed, but not fully regulated. So basically, legal to have, tricky to get, and confusing for me and everyone that lives in Mexico. Welcome to Cannabis Limbo, Mexico. We love you, though. Mota for the world. Give me some of that Mexican regs that I sold. I mean, I smoked in the 90s. I would like some of those seeds.
Yeah, right?
Please. I would love to get my hands on some reggae seeds. Oof. That'd be fun to cross some stuff with too. Big Earl out there crossing some. I had those seeds from the 90s. Remember
Oh my
that
god.
brickweed? The
Yeah.
thousands upon thousands of seeds, millions upon millions of seeds. I would like to just have a
Where are they now?
handful. Yeah, I would like to
Yeah.
have a hand. Yeah, in a landfill or some bird ate it or something. Luxembourg's getting creative with it. Now there's a service helping people grow cannabis at home. Love that. Step by step from seed to harvest. Yeah, since it's legal to grow up to 4 plants at home, businesses are popping up to guide beginners through the process. So basically, no dispensaries yet, but they help you become your own from seed to weed with a little coaching along the way. We talked about that years ago. Like there should be some kind of service to go help people, older generation folks that live in like homes,
Mhm.
have a little grow room for everybody in that
In the
home,
community.
and they
Mhm.
could we could teach them how to do that and how to
Mhm.
grow their own medicine,
Mhm.
and then we could teach them how to make their own edibles.
Yeah.
And then they can supply everybody throughout the nursing home on weed and get them off all that shitty ass medication they're on. We would revolutionize the world. Somebody take that idea. It's a really good idea. I'm not gonna do it. I would love to do it, but I'm not that good of a grower. I can teach the class, but I don't wanna be the one showing 'em how to set everything up and doing it. So, but take this idea, somebody, and run with it because it can make some money. Because Luxembourg's doing it. So if Luxembourg's doing it, you can do it. Over in South Australia, the Cannabis Party showed up, but didn't really make a dent. They pulled in less than 1% of the vote and no seats, while bigger players dominated the election. Yep, legalization talk is there, but not enough support yet. So basically, cannabis is part of the conversation, but politically, still a long way from winning anything major. But I think they didn't pick the right people for the weed party, the Green Party. They didn't have our homie Tez and Reefer Terps on the ballot. They definitely would have fucking won some seats. So
That's where they went wrong.
yeah, that's where they went wrong in my book. So Australia, top cannabis lawyers calling out the media for misrepresenting medical cannabis research, saying headlines are turning not enough evidence yet into it doesn't work. Yeah, big difference. She's saying studies are being twisted, ignoring real patient outcomes and benefits people are actually experiencing. So basically, the issue isn't science, it's how it's being reported. And that's kind of messaging. That can do some fucking harm. Over in Kenya, I love Kenya. We have a big following in Kenya. Love you out there. This case is getting deep. Rastafarians are in court fighting to use cannabis or bang for religious purposes, saying it's part of their faith. Now, here's the twist: since they can't bring actual cannabis into court, they're using videos, photos, and testimonies online as evidence instead. So, yeah, this isn't just about weed, it's about religious freedom versus law. And that decision could set a major precedent. Japan cracks down on a really good cannabinoid, CBN.
Mm.
The end of cannabis gray area, Japan is once again tightening its stance on cannabis derived compounds. This time, the focus is on CBN. And a cannabinoid less well known than THC or CBD, but very good, by the way. But one that is increasingly found in products amid a relaxation and sleep support. The decision, reported by International CBC, marks a new chapter in the Asian countries' regulation, which has been combining limited medical access with strict punitive policies. Japan. What is wrong with you? It's CBN. CBN never harmed nobody.
Yeah, right.
It might give you a nightmare if you take too much, but that's about
That's
it.
about it.
Doesn't make you wanna cry or fucking do something stupid. I mean, come on, Japan. I mean, your technology there is amazing and your country's amazing, but you just really, really have to allow cannabis in your country. For some reason, I'm just
You
so
have to.
against it. I don't understand. Oh my goodness. Oh, sushi and weed, 2 of the best
Mm,
things in the world.
yeah,
Sushi and ramen, 2 of the best things
yeah,
in the world.
perfect.
Sushi, weed, and ramen, 3 of the best things in the world. And Japanese food in general. Oh, and your culture and everything about you. Japanese anime, I love you. With weed, I love you. There's old men, in anime, old masters smoking opium pens and weed, smoking weed.
Mhm.
They call it reefer on these
Hmm.
anime. I'm telling you, Japan, come on now. It's it's
It's in your
there.
culture already.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Ah,
regress. Anyway, they're not late, Mrs. Weedman. They're not late. They're just arriving to
they
the
are.
cause.
Yeah.
Women over 60 are finding their place in cannabis.
Mhm.
This is a good article by High Times. Tell us about it, Mrs.
Yeah.
Weedman.
This article from High Times is a really cool perspective because it's not about the usual cannabis crowd. This is about women over 60 finding their place in cannabis. The story follows two women in their 60s, one in her late and one in her early 60s. And they're walking into a dispensary not as customers, but as entrepreneurs, setting up shop, pitching products, building something new. And right away, you feel the contrast because this generation didn't grow up with dispensaries, menus, or legalization. Back in their day, getting weed meant knowing someone who knew someone, and usually dealing with some sketchy situations just to get access. It wasn't marketed to them, it wasn't normalized, and it definitely wasn't framed as wellness. So, fast forward to today, and they're stepping into a modern cannabis industry that's honestly just wasn't built with them in mind. A lot of the branding still skews young. A lot of the imagery doesn't reflect older women at all. And the article put it perfectly. It's not that the industry is hostile, it's that there's just been an absence. But here's where things are starting to shift. Once these women step into the space, they start finding other women, mentors, connectors, people already building quietly behind the scenes. There's a moment where they meet a dispensary owner who doesn't just hype them up, she asks a real question. Why take this kind of risk at this stage in life? And that's powerful because it forces them to actually think about what they're doing, not just chasing an idea, but understanding the weight of it. Then you've got a woman who's working security at the dispensary in her 60s. She's opening doors and making connections. That's a big theme in this piece. Trust is the real currency in cannabis. Not just money, not just product. Trust that is built through relationships. And a lot of these women are bringing decades of life experience into the space: sales, caregiving, surviving real life challenges, and applying it to cannabis in a way that feels more intentional. Now, on the consumer side, this demographic is growing fast too. Women over 60 are increasingly turning to cannabis for pain, sleep, anxiety, real health reasons, not just recreation. And they tend to approach it differently, more cautious, more research driven, really paying attention to how it affects their bodies, which honestly makes sense because cannabis today is way stronger and way more complex than what they experienced decades ago. So, education becomes key. And that's where these voices come in. The article talks about a cancer survivor who helps other older adults navigate cannabis, especially those who are hesitant or overwhelmed walking into a dispensary for the first time. Because let's be real, that experience can be intimidating if you didn't grow up in this culture. And that's really what this whole article comes down to. This generation wasn't invited into the early cannabis industry, but they're showing up anyway. They're building businesses, they're creating community, and they're helping each other figure it out. And maybe most importantly, they're reshaping what cannabis looks like. Not just young, not just trendy, but something that spans generations. This isn't a late entry, it's just a different kind of arrival. And honestly, the industry is better for it.
Yeah. We were
How?
just we were just with a couple we've become friends with over the last couple of years, and they are in their 70s.
Mhm,
And Mrs. Weedman played a little bit of our show, and the woman was turned off because she didn't know what a terpene was. She didn't know what a cannabinoid was. She just smokes weed.
mhm,
That's all she really knows about it. It makes her feel good,
mhm,
and just started smoking weed on a more of a regular basis. So you have to know your audience, and what did I say? 55 and up is the fastest, and Gen Z women are the 2 fastest growing
mhm,
segments of the cannabis. So you have to know your audience. We don't, y we all think this is still a plant that's for the underground. A lot of people still treat it that way, like the marketing, meaning like for young people, for people in their 30s or 20s or 40s. But realizing that there was a lot of people that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s that knew about weed, but were taught differently, or maybe smoked it in college, or went to Woodstock, or went to concerts and smoked it once and
mhm.
never smoked it again, or smoked it in college and then they got into the corporate world and never smoked it again, and now they're all wanting to get back into it and get off the alcohol and the cigarettes and all the bad shit because they're hearing so many good things about it. You have to keep it simple for the newbies or the people that had heard cannabis was the devil's lettuce, you know,
Mhm.
and you have to make sure that we teach and educate, but in a way that they would keep it simple and understand. And so they know you have to market to your audience, I guess is what I'm saying, right?
Mhm.
You have to know your people and know how to find out what they want, not what you think what they want. So worried about your packaging and gearing it to the certain culture, but also forgetting that simplicity is what draws somebody like myself in.
Right.
Somebody that's in their 60s and 70s want simple. They want to get back into smoking weed or start smoking weed because they're hearing good things about it. They don't know what a sativa
They want
indica. They
an
don't know what
environment
sativa.
where they can feel comfortable.
Right, and they don't know what sativa indica and
Right.
hybrid is.
Right.
They wanna know, is this gonna help me sleep?
Mhm,
Is this gonna help me feel better? Is this gonna take away my backache? Is this
mhm.
gonna take away my glaucoma? Is this gonna help me relax? Yes, all of that. But you need to put that on stuff so they can understand.
Right.
If you tell them that it's sativa and it makes you uplifting, they're gonna forget 2 seconds. But if you say this strain will help energize you so you can get up out of bed in the morning and go for a nice long walk or get some shit done, they're like, "Hell yeah, that's what I want." "Do you got something to help me go to sleep?" "Yeah, I got something that's great for you to go to sleep. Here." So marketing to that older generation, the 60 and up, women have been doing shopping for their household for how many years? If they were married with kids or by themselves, living by
Right.
themselves or living with just a partner, they've been doing the shopping and cooking. What's the one thing you said to me one time? I mean, we had our kid, what's the one thing you said? God, fucking what the biggest pain in the ass was trying to figure out what to cook for dinner every night.
Every night. Ugh,
For how many years you've
w
been doing it.
forever.
Right. It sucks. I feel
Mhm.
you.
Something that everybody's happy with, doesn't take forever to clean
We
cook,
had our
to clean.
staples though.
Yeah, but
Our
I
4 or
I
5
like cooked
Oh, yeah.
every night,
Oh, yeah, you did.
like a meal.
Yeah. I mean, our kids loved it.
Yeah. Not
I
every
loved it.
night, but I mean a lot.
5 nights a week. We were
most
cooking
of it.
dinner,
Yeah.
yeah, but we had our set stuff, though. You knew
Yeah.
cook every week that you knew, like, the back of your hand to cook, and
Mhm.
every once in a while, you threw something different in there just to
Mhm.
mix it up. Because how many nights a week could you eat chicken cutlets? You. I can eat them every night, but you can't.
No.
Little Paulie
Felt
and
like
I could.
yeah. Felt like I was gonna cluck if I ate any more chicken in my life.
So, yes, market to your audience, teach people the simplicity of cannabis. There's people out there that wanna know cannabinoids and terpenes and all the other inner workings of stuff, just like when I was in craft beer, 20% of the people wanna know about what type of hops and these hops and what does this do and what's in this beer and yeast and funk and this and that. Yes, that's about 20% of your market right there. 80% of your market out there, KISS, keep it simple, silly. 'Cause I don't believe anybody's stupid out there. So keep it simple, silly out there. So great job, Miss Weedman, in that article. Pretty good
Sure.
shit. So,
Thanks.
Miss Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
Went quick.
It went quick.
You got anything else to say before we go?
Um, no. I yeah, I I have no I have no words.
None, really?
I
Okay.
can't think of
All
anything
right,
right
that's
now.
fine. I'd like to thank
Nothing.
Midwest Terps for introducing us to Lifted Microbrewery and throwing this delicious crunch
Yeah,
berries
right?
to the cause. We had enough nugs to roll 2 joints.
Yeah, it was perfect.
So, for the show, and, we appreciate, Lifted Microbrewery and winning, I think we have, like, all their strains to smoke,
Yeah,
and then, we have a bunch of more to smoke, so we're gonna have some nice fun the next couple weeks smoking a lot of different strains, so we're super stoked, so, thank you, Midwest Terps, and thank you, Mike Lifted Microbrewery for throwing to the cause.
yeah,
And everybody, I love you out there. I really appreciate you all listening. I really appreciate all the humble words you send me. And Mrs. Weedman, we thank you. Um, some fucked up times going on out there. We all need to stay strong as a world, not just the United States or this country. That as a world, people, we all need to come together. Shit's fucked up again, and we all gotta support, love, just show a little kindness because shit's fucking real right now, real, real. So we love you out there so much. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puff and away.
puff puff pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a ninth decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.